Hey, what's up, Nerd Nation? Today we are heading into the rough and ready world of medieval frontiers. This first-person village builder looks a lot like Medieval Dynasty, but can it step out of that shadow, or is it just another medieval copycat? Let's find out. Now, according to its Steam page, Medieval Frontier promises a frontier settlement sim where you build, farm, craft, and lead your people through tough times. Developed by Fungus Studios, part of Steam's German dev spotlight, and published by PlayWay SA, who are known for Mr. Prepper and Contraband Police, along with Gamehunters, who put out a title called Viking Frontiers earlier this year, which has had mixed reviews. I found this game via an ad highlighting German-made titles. As a longtime fan of Life is Feudal and Medieval Dynasty, I had to give this game a shot. But can it do enough to set itself apart? That's what I wanted to find out. Now, the demo starts with you waking up hungry, grabbing some bread, and realizing the supplies are not going to last. So you tell your wife, well, I assume she's your wife, that you're going to head out and go for a hunt.
You don't even have a bow. And with the penalties for poaching, you'll end up in a cage or worse. Why do you always insist on risking your neck for a hunt?
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Now, she does warn you that poaching is risky and illegal. This kind of adds a little bit of realism to the medieval feel, right? So, in order for you to go hunt, you're gonna have to go borrow a bow. Who has the bow? Well, the local carpenter.
There you are. Just in time, lad. The old log splitting benches.
This sounds very much like a guy straight out of Kansas rather than medieval Germany. But he introduces you to the crafting system, and honestly, that's the part that's pretty well done. Just for example, the woodworking animations are detailed and satisfying. Now that we've helped out the local carpenter, he lets us borrow his bow and he gives us a couple of arrows to go out hunting, which is easier said than done. Now, let me tell you, Nerd Nation, I spent the last 20 minutes scouring the woods looking for rabbits. And the area that the demo gives you is not that large. And I could not figure out why am I not seeing rabbits. So I looked around, I got close, I started to hear noises that sounded like birds, but then I also know that rabbits make sort of like a weird sound. I can't describe it. So eventually I did come across the rabbits. They were stuck in the rocks, and it seemed that other players were having this issue. I reported this bug to the devs and they patched it the next day. This made day one of recording a little rocky. I apologize for nothing. Now, after you meet the requirements for hunting the rabbits, you decide it's time for you to go back home. Now, as you are coming back home, you notice that the village is on fire. They're screaming, buildings are burning, people are dying, and all that you are left to do is blame yourself, and eventually you decide to rebuild civilization one log at a time. And that's where the game truly starts. So, with that said, we find ourselves in a valley. There's trees about, there's mountainous terrain, there is a mysterious plume of smoke off into the distance. What could it be? Well, we don't know, because the tutorial is telling us that we need to collect food, water, and material. And the things that we need to have before we go off into this little adventure, we need to build a well, we need to build a fire pit, a bed, and slowly piece together a home. Now, just like with crafting, construction is another highlight here. You gather sticks, beams, stone, you grab your hammer, and you build piece by piece. You can also build workbenches that unlock sturdier tools like hoes and pickaxes, letting you expand further. Now, this is where I ran into a second bug. I had constructed a pickaxe to collect rocks, as one does, but the only problem was that the pickaxe, though it appeared in my inventory, did not appear in my hand. I went up to random rocks to see if the animation would start. Nothing. There would be no highlighted rocks. I couldn't tell exactly what was what. So the process of building the house later in the game was kind of difficult, as I had to search for smaller rock. Now, one thing outside of the bugs that I thought was questionable was this particular design choice. There is this mechanic in the game that is more of a Wheel of Fortune or a nighttime sickness roulette. Every time that you go to sleep, you spin a wheel and you either wake up okay or you wake up sick. And in some instances, you can wake up even more sick than what you were before. I'm not sure why they went this route. Sleeping should help you, not punish you. It felt unnecessary. Like, this is just a frustration mechanic. Because here's the thing. I did attempt to push myself through the night, but I got hit with debuffs, and so they really want you to sleep. Now, if this is a survival mechanic or there's a reason behind this, it's not explained. And the devs haven't really said anything from what I can find out. It's just a weird design choice, and it's not really particularly my favorite. All right, so remember that plume of smoke that I talked about earlier? Well, now it's time for us to head out in that direction. Now, this is where things start to get a little weird in terms of pace. While I'm still focused on trying to figure out some of the mechanics of the game is now starting to push me to the swamp. Or I should say, it pushed me into a swamp as to where the plume of smoke was. And this right here, let me tell you, was not the most interesting because I had to hack through the swamp, which was full of bushes and small trees. And then on top of that, the mosquitoes and the leeches. Now, a regular part of a swamp, I give you that. But it was extremely frustrating because when I got there, there was an NPC sitting in the middle of this swamp, hence the plume of smoke because there was a campfire. And it looks like this is my long lost wife, possibly. That's why I wasn't sure if she was my wife in the beginning. Now, this adds a level of stress to get to this NPC, but it's not really a fun kind. It's just more of a slog. And I really just didn't like it. Now, in terms of the vibe, it felt good. It felt right. You feel like a struggling peasant carving out life beyond the law. The sound design is immersive. The music is good. NPC interactions are scarce. I just met that one other person towards the end of the demo, but, hey, it's no big deal. This is a playtest after all. Now, if they're going for a competition against Medieval Dynasty, they're going to have to focus on more story and interaction. This would probably help the game and set it apart from Medieval Dynasty. Now, performance-wise, like I mentioned, there are a few bugs, but the devs are patching quite actively, which is a good sign. Let me go ahead and throw up the modest system requirements for this game. As you can see, it's really nothing big. It's nothing really big. You're not going to need the next NASA supercomputer, all right? But also, too, you're not going to need your grandma's email machine, okay? It's just not going to happen. You need 20 gigs of storage, which is pretty hefty for a game, I have to say, or at least what they're planning for. DirectX 11, and yes, and this was the funny part for me, a sound card, because apparently Medieval Silence isn't immersive enough, right? So it boils down to this. Am I going to wishlist it, or am I going to wipe? Well, to be 100% honest with you, Nerd Nation, I'm just going to be following. There's potential, but it hasn't earned a wish list spot yet. Now, I want you guys to try and do this. If this game interests you based off of what you've seen, okay, I want you to join the playtest. And if there's any future playtests, I want you to sign up for those too. I'll leave the link in the description below so you can sign up for the playtests and, help the devs develop and polish things up. So, is this a clone or is this a contender? Right now, Medieval Frontiers feels a lot like Medieval Dynasty Light. There's a lot of similar mechanics, it's less refined, but the building system's solid and there's room to grow. And for the first time ever, Nerd Nation, I am about to assign a numerical value to this demo. This numerical value is going to be a 4.5 out of 10. There is a decent foundation to be had. There's a solid foundation here, but it needs its own identity to stand tall. Because a lot of individuals in the discussion boards and even in the reviews were claiming that this was a Medieval Dynasty clone. So devs, If you want to avoid being called a clone, you need to develop it in a way to where you form your own identity and you stand tall on it. So what do you think, Nerd Nation? Do you think I was a little too harsh? Do you think I was a little too lenient? Or do you think I was right on the money? I want you to drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now, on top of that, to stay up to date and informed, I would like for you to also hit that like button and ring the bell if you haven't already. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. So in case you're unaware, YouTube has changed the way that it monetizes its videos. So not only are we looking for views, they are actually looking for comments and also likes. So please, ladies and gentlemen of Nerd Nation and those of you who come across this video, I would like for this video to receive at least 5, maybe 10 likes and a couple of comments to kind of push it into the algorithm. So if you could be so kind as to do that for me, I'd really appreciate it. So as a normal sound off, as we normally do, I would like to tell you all thank you for watching the video if you made it to the end. And I want to say take care of yourself and each other. Nerd out.